For my 30th birthday, my estranged parents gave me my dream car. I wept with joy, believing it was a symbol of a new, happy beginning for our family. But my husband, a mechanic, took one look underneath and went pale. "Get away from it. Now," he whispered. I looked closer, and I saw a small, blinking red light. I didn't start the car. I did something else instead. And 30 minutes later, the bomb squad was cordoning off my entire street. Before we dive in, I have a quick question for you. What is the best or the worst surprise gift you have ever received? Let me know in the comments. Okay, let's go back to that morning. My 30th birthday began with a quiet, familiar ache of sadness. It was supposed to be a milestone, a celebration, but the silence from my parents, Richard and Deborah, was a loud and painful presence in our small, happy home. We had been estranged, more or less, for the better part of a year. The reasons were a tangled, familiar web of their financial irresponsibility, their disapproval of my simple life, and their barely concealed contempt for my husband, Leo, a good, honest man who happened to be a mechanic, a profession they deemed beneath their daughter. I was trying my best to enjoy the day. Leo had made me breakfast in bed. Our 5-year-old son, Sam, had given me a wonderfully messy, crayon-drawn portrait of our family. I had everything I had ever truly wanted, right here in these 4 walls. But still, the silence from my parents was a ghost at the table, a reminder of the fractured family I so desperately wished we could heal. It was just after 10 in the morning when the sound of a massive truck rumbling down our quiet suburban street broke the silence. I looked out the window and my jaw dropped. A giant, sleek, black flatbed truck was pulling to a stop directly in front of our house. And on its bed, gleaming in the morning sun like a jewel, was a brand new, snow-white Mercedes convertible, a ridiculous movie star-sized red bow tied around its hood. "What in the world?" I whispered, my heart beginning to pound. A man in a uniform hopped down from the truck and rang our doorbell. He was holding a clipboard and a small cream-colored envelope. "Mia Miller?" he asked. I just nodded, speechless. "Congratulations," he said with a grin. "Sign here." I numbly signed the paper, and he handed me the envelope. Inside, on thick, expensive-looking cardstock, was a note written in my mother's elegant looping script. "Our dearest Mia," it began. "Not a day goes by that we don't regret the distance that has grown between us. We know we haven't always been the parents you deserved, but you are and always will be our greatest pride. We want to start over. We want to heal. Let this be a small symbol of our immense love for you and a new beginning for our family. We love you more than words can say. Happy 30th birthday. All our love, Mom and Dad." The tears came then, hot and fast. It was not just a car. It was an apology. It was an olive branch. It was every "I'm sorry" and "we love you" I had been waiting to hear my entire adult life, all summed up in a single, extravagant and unbelievable gesture. The years of quiet hurt, of feeling less than, of being a disappointment, all of it seemed to melt away in a wave of pure, cathartic relief. "I don't believe it," I sobbed, handing the note to Leo, who read it with a look of stunned surprise. "They do love me. They really do." I immediately grabbed my phone and dialed my mother's number. She answered on the first ring. "Did you get it, sweetie?" she asked, her voice full of a cheerful, nervous excitement. "Mom, I don't know what to say," I cried. It's too much. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Thank you. Thank you both so much."
"Oh, we're just so happy you love it, darling," my father said, now on the speakerphone. "We just want our daughter back. That's all we want. Can we come over tonight? We'll bring a celebratory bottle of champagne. We want to see our beautiful girl in her beautiful new car." Yes, I said, without a moment's hesitation. Of course, tonight will be perfect. After I hung up, I was a whirlwind of joyous energy. A new beginning, a real family. I ran outside and threw my arms around the car's hood, a laugh bubbling up from my chest. It was real. It was my husband, Leo, who was the first quiet note of discord in my perfect symphony of joy. He stood on the porch, a cautious, unreadable expression on his face. He was a practical man, a man who understood the world in terms of engines and balance sheets. "Mia, this is incredible," he said, his voice gentle. "But honey, this is $100,000 car. Your parents were talking about refinancing their house just 6 months ago. How in the world did they afford this?" "Oh, who cares?" I said, dismissing his concern with a happy wave of my hand. "Maybe one of their investments paid off. Maybe they just wanted to do something wonderful for me for once. Can't you just be happy for us?" "Of course I am," he said, and he smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. I spent the next hour in a state of pure bliss, sitting in the driver's seat, breathing in the intoxicating scent of new leather, my hands tracing the smooth, cool lines of the steering wheel. My parents were coming for dinner. My family was finally healing. Everything was finally beautifully perfect. I was so lost in my happy daydream that I didn't even notice, at first, that Leo, my quiet, methodical mechanic of a husband, had put on his overalls, grabbed a flashlight, and slid under the car on a creeper, doing what he did with every single vehicle he encountered, a thorough, professional, and deeply suspicious inspection. I sat in the driver's seat of the Mercedes, a giddy, disbelieving laugh bubbling up from my chest. The scent of new, hand-stitched leather and expensive German engineering was intoxicating. I ran my hands over the smooth, cool surface of the steering wheel, my fingers tracing the iconic three-pointed star at its center. It was real. After years of feeling like a disappointment, of being the daughter who had chosen a simple life over their grand ambitions, my parents had finally, truly seen me. This car wasn't just a gift. It was a validation. It was an apology. It was a bridge being built across the wide, silent chasm that had separated us for so long. My first call was to my best friend, Sarah, my voice a high-pitched squeal of pure joy. "I are not going to believe what my parents just did," I practically shouted into the phone. I told her the whole story, the flatbed truck, the giant red bow, the beautiful, heartfelt note. "They're coming over for dinner tonight," I finished, my voice thick with happy tears. "A new beginning, Sarah. We're finally getting a new beginning." "Oh, honey, I am so happy for you," she had said, and her joy was genuine. We both knew how much this meant to me. While I was on the phone, lost in my happy bubble, my husband Leo was not celebrating. He was circling the car, his movements slow and deliberate, his expression not of excitement, but of a deep professional scrutiny. I had seen that look 1,000 times. It was the look he got at his garage when a client brought in a car with a problem no one else could diagnose. It was the look of a master mechanic searching for the single tiny detail that was out of place.
"Leo, stop it," I said with a playful laugh, ending the call with my friend. "It's a brand new car. It's perfect. You don't have to inspect it." "Indulge me," he said, his voice a little tight as he popped the hood. "$100,000 machine deserves a once-over." He spent the next 20 minutes under the hood. I watched him, my initial amusement slowly beginning to fade into a familiar annoyance. He was always like this, my practical, grounded Leo, always looking for the flaw, the catch. He couldn't just accept a beautiful, wonderful gesture for what it was. He had to find something wrong with it. "Find anything?" I asked, my voice laced with a hint of sarcasm. "The engine is pristine," he admitted, wiping his hands on a rag. "But the battery terminal has some fresh scratches on it. And there's a wire here," he pointed to a spot deep in the engine block, "that doesn't look factory standard. It's minor, but it's sloppy." It was probably the delivery prep, I said, waving a dismissive hand. "You're just looking for trouble. Now, come on, let's take it for a spin." I reached for the ignition button. "No, wait," he said, his voice sharp. He walked around the car, his eyes narrowed, scanning every inch. He ran his hand along the bodywork, checked the tires. Then, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world, he walked back to the garage. "I'm not going to be able to relax until I look underneath," he said. "It'll just take a second." He returned with his creeper and a high-powered flashlight. With a weary groan, he lay on his back and slid under the gleaming white chassis of my beautiful new car. I sighed, my perfect happy mood now thoroughly deflated by his relentless pessimism. I sat in the driver's seat, the keys in my hand, and waited. The minutes ticked by. I could see his legs, clad in their grease-stained work jeans, sticking out from under the car. I could see the bright, focused beam of his flashlight darting back and forth, methodically scanning the undercarriage. The silence from under the car began to feel long, too long. "Leo?" I called out. "Is everything okay under there? Did you find a loose bolt you want to complain about?" His voice, when it came back, was muffled and strange, distant. Just a second, honey. I'm looking at something." Another long minute passed, and then another. I was about to call out to him again, my annoyance now turning into a real flicker of concern, when he slid out from under the car. He moved not with his usual easy grace, but with a sudden jerky motion, as if he had been shocked. He lay on his back on the concrete of our driveway for a long moment, just staring up at the sky. His face was the color of ash. A fine sheen of sweat was on his brow, and his eyes, his kind, gentle, loving eyes, were wide with a look of such profound, abject terror that it stole the very breath from my lungs. His first action was to turn his head, his panicked gaze finding our house, the living room window where our son Sam was playing with his toys. It was the look of a protector, a father, a man who had just come to face with a mortal threat to his entire world. Then he looked at me. He didn't scream, he didn't shout. His voice, when it came, was a low, urgent, and absolutely terrifying whisper. "Get out of the car, Mia," he said, his eyes boring into mine. "Now, don't ask questions, don't reach for the ignition, just open the door, get out, and walk slowly, calmly back to the house. Get away from it." "Leo, what are you talking about?" I said, my voice trembling. "You're scaring me."
He was on his feet now, moving towards me, his face a mask of pure, primal fear. "There's no time to explain," he hissed, his hand grabbing my door and yanking it open. "There's something under the car. It's wired to the ignition." He looked at me, his eyes full of a terrible, impossible certainty. "And I think your parents just tried to kill you." My husband's final words, "I think your parents just tried to kill you," did not compute. They were a string of nonsensical sounds, a sentence from a language I didn't understand. The world, which had been so bright and full of a new, fragile hope just moments before, tilted into a dizzying, surreal landscape of confusion. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice a sharp, brittle thing. A laugh, high-pitched and slightly hysterical, escaped my lips. "Leo, that's not funny. You're being insane. You were just looking for something to be run with it, and now you've gone crazy. They love me. This was a peace offering. You're trying to ruin this for me." The accusations tumbled out, a desperate, reflexive defense of the beautiful story I so desperately wanted to believe. He didn't argue. He didn't get angry. His face was a mask of pure, urgent terror, and his eyes were not looking at me, but past me at the living room window where the silhouette of our son Sam could be seen playing. That look, the look of a father terrified for his child, was what finally broke through my wall of denial. "Mia," he said, his voice a low, urgent hiss. He grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly strong, and pulled me physically out of the driver's seat of my beautiful new coffin. "This is not a joke. This is not me being jealous or paranoid. I am a mechanic. I have been looking under cars my entire adult life. I know every wire, every bolt, every system. And what I saw under there," he shook his head, a look of profound horror on his face, was not made in a Mercedes factory. It was professional, it was clean, and it was wired directly to the ignition coil and what looks like a motion sensor. It's a bomb, Mia. It is a real, actual bomb. No, I whispered, shaking my head, tears of confusion and fear now streaming down my face. No, you're wrong. You have to be wrong. Then look, he said, his voice a ragged command. He pulled me down onto the rough concrete of the driveway with him, keeping us low. He clicked on his heavy-duty flashlight, its beam a sharp white spear in the afternoon light, and he pointed it under the axle. He pointed, his voice now just a whisper. And I did. I peered into the dark, complex world of the car's undercarriage, and I saw it. Tucked away neatly above the axle, almost invisible unless you knew exactly what you were looking for, was a small, black, rectangular box. It was held in place by a professional-looking magnetic clamp. 2 wires, one red and one black, snaked out from the box and were expertly spliced into the main wiring loom that led to the engine. And on the side of the box, facing me, was a single, small, and impossibly bright red light, blinking with a steady, calm, and patient rhythm. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. Like a tiny, malevolent heart counting down the seconds of a life I was not supposed to have anymore. The world went utterly and completely silent. The denial, the hope, the beautiful story of reconciliation, it all vaporized in the face of that one small, blinking light. It was real. The car was a trap. The note was a lie. The gift of a new beginning was meant to be the instrument of my end. My own parents, my mother and my father, had sent me a bomb for my 30th birthday.
A sound escaped my throat. A low, keening moan of a pain so profound it had no words. But the sound was cut short by a new, more powerful feeling. A cold, silent, and terrifying rage. My maternal instinct, the one that had been focused on my son inside the house, now expanded. I was not just a mother, I was a survivor. And I was the target. Leo was already pulling me to my feet. "We have to get Sam," he said, his voice now a low, steady command. "We have to get out of the house. We run. To the end of the street. Now." We ran into the house. I saw it all with new eyes. The framed family photos on the wall were pictures of my would-be murderers. The familiar, comfortable space was a potential blast zone. I snatched Sam up from the floor where he was playing with his blocks, my movements frantic, but my face a carefully constructed mask of calm. "Mommy, what's happening?" he asked, his eyes wide with confusion. "We're gonna play a new game, sweetie. It's called Super Fast Rockets. We have to run, as fast as we can, all the way to Mrs. Gable's house at the end of the street. Can you be a super fast rocket for me?" He giggled, oblivious, and I thanked God for his innocence. We ran. Out the front door, down the driveway, giving the beautiful white car a wide, terrified berth. We ran down the quiet suburban sidewalk. My son's laughter a surreal soundtrack to the most terrifying moment of my life. We didn't stop until we were on our neighbor's lawn, a full block away. I collapsed onto the grass, pulling Sam into my lap, my body racked with silent, shuddering sobs. Tom stood over us, a protective sentinel, his own phone already out, ready to call 911. "No," I said, my voice suddenly clear. "Not 911. Give me my phone." He handed it to me. My hands were no longer shaking. My mind was a shard of ice. I was not a hysterical victim. I was a witness. A complainant. I bypassed the emergency line and dialed the direct, non-emergency number for the city police department. A bored-sounding dispatcher answered. "City Police, how can I help you?" "My name is Mia Miller," I said, my voice as cold and steady as a machine. "My address is 123 Oak Street. My parents, Richard and Deborah Miller, delivered a vehicle to my home approximately 2 hours ago as a birthday gift. My husband, who was a mechanic, was inspecting the vehicle and found what he has identified as a viable explosive device professionally wired to the car's ignition system." There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. "We have evacuated our home," I continued, my voice never wavering. "My son and I are safe. I am formally requesting the immediate dispatch of the bomb squad to my address to assess and neutralize the threat." I ended the call. The distant wail of sirens began almost immediately. I held my son, my husband's arm a steel band around me, and we watched as our quiet, peaceful street was flooded with the flashing red and blue lights of a world I had never known. The party was still on. My parents, my loving, smiling parents, were still on their way over for a celebratory dinner. I just had a feeling the guest of honor was about to be arrested for attempted murder. The quiet, tree-lined street of my ordinary suburban life had transformed into a scene from a movie. It was a chaotic, yet meticulously organized ballet of emergency response. Red and blue lights flashed in a silent, hypnotic rhythm, painting the faces of my neighbors, who were all now standing on their lawns, with strokes of alternating color. A wide perimeter of yellow police tape cordoned off our entire block. And in the center of it all, sitting in my driveway, like a pristine, white, ticking tomb, was my birthday present.
We stood at a safe distance, wrapped in emergency blankets that a kind firefighter had given us, and watched. My son, Sam, was blessedly oblivious to the true nature of the threat, his initial fear now replaced by a wide-eyed awe at the spectacle of the fire trucks and the police cars. But I knew, and my husband, Leo, knew. We stood huddled together, watching as a small, tank-like robot, operated by a man in a heavily padded suit, rolled cautiously towards the Mercedes. The silence was absolute. Every neighbor, every officer, every first responder was holding their breath. After a long, agonizing 10 minutes, a voice crackled over an officer's radio. The technician's voice was calm, professional, and utterly chilling. "We have confirmation. It's a professionally made device, IED, tied to the ignition and a secondary motion sensor. It's the real deal. We're proceeding with disarming." A lead detective, a man with a kind, tired face, named Detective Miller, was taking our statements. I recounted the story in a flat, numb monotone. The estrangement, the surprise gift, the loving note, the phone call. Leo, beside me, provided the technical details of what he had seen under the car, his mechanic's vocabulary giving our incredible story a solid, undeniable weight of credibility. The detective listened, his expression growing grimmer with every word. It was in the middle of this quiet, terrifying procedure that I saw it. Another car, a familiar, respectable-looking sedan, pulling up to the police barricade at the end of the street. It was my parents, Richard and Deborah. They had arrived for my celebratory 30th birthday dinner. They got out of the car, their faces a perfect performance of confusion and concern. My mother was even carrying a beautifully wrapped birthday cake. They approached the nearest officer, and I could see them gesturing towards my house, their faces etched with practiced parental worry. Detective Miller saw them too. "Are those your parents, Mia?" he asked, his voice low. "Yes," I whispered, my heart a cold, dead stone in my chest. "Stay here with your son," he said. "I'll go talk to them." I watched as the detective walked down the street to meet them. I saw them talk, their heads close together. I saw my mother's hand fly to her mouth in a gesture of performed horror. I saw my father shake his head in feigned disbelief. They were magnificent actors. They deserved an award. Detective Miller led them back towards us. My mother rushed forward, her arms outstretched. "Mia, darling," she cried, her voice full of a convincing, panicked terror. "The officer told us, a bomb? Oh my God, who would do such a thing? Are you all right?" She tried to hug me, but I took a step back, a small, involuntary movement of pure revulsion. Her face flickered with a brief, almost imperceptible flash of anger before being replaced again by her mask of concern. "We have some questions for you, Mr. and Mrs. Miller," the detective said, his voice polite but with an underlying edge of steel. He looked at the pristine white car, which the robot was now carefully working on. You told your daughter you bought this car for her. Can you tell me which dealership you purchased it from? The main Mercedes dealership downtown, of course, my father said, smoothly. We paid in cash. We wanted it to be a perfect, clean gift for her. The detective just nodded, making a note. That's interesting, he said, his voice still casual, because we ran the vehicle identification number as soon as we arrived. The car isn't registered to a dealership. It was purchased 2 days ago in a private, cash-only sale from a man with a rather extensive criminal record. Does that name ring a bell?
My father's face went pale. My mother's eyes darted around like a cornered animal looking for an escape route. I don't understand, my father stammered. The dealer must have arranged it through a third party. And the insurance policy? The detective continued, his voice relentless. My office did a quick check. It seems you took out a new $3 million life insurance policy on your daughter just last week, a policy where you are the sole beneficiaries. That's a lot of concern for a daughter you haven't spoken to in a year, wouldn't you say? The trap was closing. Their perfect story was unraveling. And then the final, beautiful, devastating blow. The bomb technician's voice crackled over the radio again, clear for all of us to hear. Device has been successfully disarmed and removed. It's a sophisticated piece of work. Military grade. Definitely not an amateur. We're taking it back to the lab. My mother let out a small, choked sob. It was not a sob of relief. It was the sob of a plan that had just failed. Detective Miller looked at my parents, his kind, tired face now a mask of pure, cold disgust. Richard and Deborah Miller, he said, his voice low and final, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of your daughter, Mia Miller. The chaos that followed was a fitting end to their lifetime of lies. My mother collapsed into a screaming, hysterical mess. My father, all his blustering confidence gone, just seemed to crumble in on himself, a hollowed-out man. I watched as they were handcuffed, as they were read their rights, as they were placed in the back of separate squad cars, their perfect celebratory evening ending in the cold, harsh reality of their own monstrous greed. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I just felt a profound, overwhelming, and quiet sense of peace. The war I had been fighting my whole life, the war to earn their love, was finally over. I had lost, in the most spectacular way imaginable, and in doing so, I had won everything that truly mattered. I looked at my husband, at his strong, grease-stained mechanic's hands that had so carefully and lovingly inspected that car, and I looked at my son, who is now chattering excitedly about the police robot. My vindication wasn't seeing my parents in handcuffs. My vindication was standing here, on this street, alive. My vindication was in quiet, unassuming, and steadfast love of my real family. The family that didn't give me expensive, explosive gifts. The family that just simply and beautifully kept me safe. An absolutely chilling and unforgettable story of the ultimate betrayal. What do you think of the way Mia's husband Leo saved her life? Let us know your thoughts on this incredible thriller in the comments below. If you were on the edge of your seat, please show your support by hitting that like button, and be sure to subscribe for more powerful daily stories of karma and shocking revenge. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.